And good evening, and welcome once again to the Shadow Gallery. I am, as always, your host, James Donnelly. And tonight, well, let's just call it part one. Well, this would more be a prelude, to be quite honest, but I had to talk about this tonight because I just can't keep silent about it anymore. Because this is, I guess, well, yeah, let's just call it the first part, the first chapter, if you will, of this week's New Comics, bitches! So, as you can tell from what I'm wearing and the description above, that tonight I'm going to be talking about... There were a lot of really excellent comics that came out this week. A lot. But tonight, I'm going to talk about the one that everybody's talking about. Everybody is talking about this. Everybody. And that, of course, is Amazing Spider-Man number 698. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm just going to go ahead and call it right now. This is my pick of the week, of last week. We live in this age of so much information right now. Especially if you're a comic fan. There's a lot of sites devoted to comics and various comic-related geekery. And all of them were dying to spoil this. Now, I stayed away. I got my digital download code on Wednesday. Woke up, was there on my email, and went to read it before I went to work, as is my wont to do when it's Wednesday. Wake up, get my digital download codes in the email, read the Marvel comics. So I got this, and I opened it up with trepidation because I knew that this was going to be a really big issue. Something really significant was going to happen here. And to me, it felt like, when I opened it, well, this is kind of looking a little bit kind of brand new day-ish. He's, definitely got, he's stepping out on the right foot. He's got, he's saying this is going to be the best day ever. The first page. And then once you get to the last page, your mind explodes. And that's nearly what I didn't actually even read any of the other comics. I actually reread this about 5 times because I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. By the way, if you have not read this issue, stop watching now. Go buy it, go read it, whatever you need to do. Just read it and come back. Because I'm going to start spoiling the shit out of it right now. Okay? So, you've been warned. Okay, so we have Spidey swinging around the city, feeling good. Feeling very positive. There's a lot of changes that he feels that he wants to make. There's a lot of steps forward that he wants to make. And he goes around. He defeats a would-be supervillain who is trying to get around some of the regular criminal laws by dressing up like a fake supervillain. And so we get a sense that, okay, so, yeah, okay, this is pretty goofy. But, you know, he swings off again. He's got things to do. He goes home, gets dressed. He's got a message from Mary Jane. She's got a new club. She's got a new club. And he's thinking about it, and he's thinking, well, maybe how long have we been doing this dance around each other? I should make something happen in regards to this. And then we get a message from Aunt May. And he says, that dear sweet woman. And you think to yourself, okay, a little unusual, but whatever. And then he gets a message from Horizon, his job. So he's got all these things to do today. And so we go, and he goes about his day. We first see him with Mary Jane. He's at the club. He's dressed up. I'm sorry. Rewind. He first goes to work, and he's talking to Max about all the inventions that he's made so far, and how many millions of dollars this has made for Horizon Labs, and saying that this is all just a prelude. I'm just going to blow you away with the stuff that I'm going to come up with next. It's just going to be incredible. It's going to be off the charts. It's going to be like nothing you've ever seen me do before. And he talks about running, that he needs to stock up on web fluid. And he's going about he's talking about the simplicity of the web fluid and how it's created, and marveling about the fact that this is that he did this when he was a sophomore in high school. And what has he done since then? Not really much of anything as far as scientific breakthroughs. Then we're off to meet Mary Jane at the club. He's all dressed up. He's got the suit and tie. He's looking sharp. And almost immediately he grabs MJ, basically said, look, we can't play, I don't want to play around anymore. I want this to go somewhere. I want us to be together. She's very taken aback by this. She starts wondering what exactly is going on. But she doesn't really want to have the conversation now because they have to go meet Jay and Aunt May at the hospital where Aunt May she's doing her physical therapy after the events of whatever it was that was the whole the lizard thing. Is that the lizard thing? I can't even remember. I think it was after that. It was whatever. It doesn't matter. But where the plane went down, and he saved her, and Jay. And he wants to talk more to MJ about the steps that he wants to take. And she's like, wait a second, we're here, we don't want to do this here, we're here with your aunt right now. And then he gets kind of paged on his Avengers card, and he's got to go. He leaves. Jay's upset about it, but MJ covers for him. Aunt May seems glad because she finally might get some grandchildren, because she looks at the way that MJ and Peter are conversing while she's there. And then he goes off and gets a ride to the raft, saying that he's an Avenger. And even he's like, I'm not used to that. I'm still not used to the idea of me being an Avenger. So he gets there and he's met by Cap and Hawkeye and Wolverine and Spider-Woman. And they say, well, Doc Ock wants to talk to you. And Peter's like, okay, well, maybe, okay, I'm ready to do this then. He's like, and Cap's like, no, you don't understand. He wants to talk to Peter Parker. And he's wondering, everybody else is wondering, well, is his identity blown? Whatever's going on. Cap says, you don't have to do this. Wolverine's like, hey, if he wants to kick off this planet a little bit early, I'm all for that. I'll cover. And Spidey's like, no, this is something I have to do alone. So if I can get some privacy, just turn off all the cameras, all the recording equipment. Spidey walks in, and there's Doc Ock. He is at death's door. And in the prelude to this issue, before all of the kind of happy moments with Spidey, we had all the alarms going off in the raft, and everybody's rifling down the corridor, and they're all holding Doc Ock at gunpoint, even though he's just laying there dying. But he's trying to speak. And the words that he says are Peter Parker. And so Spidey walks in, and we see Doc Ock. He says, Peter Parker. And Spidey pulls off the mask. Yes, I'm Peter Parker. And then the shoe plummets. It doesn't just drop, it plummets. When Doc Ock says, I'm Peter Parker. And Spidey says, you're right. But I'm Peter Parker. And I have all of your memories, as well as my own. And you're going to lay there in my body that you've bruised, beaten, and battered time and again. And you're going to die. And like a good magician, I will not reveal how I did this trick. And you're just going to die knowing that I'm in here and you're in there for what's left of your life, which is seconds. And then Doc Ock flatlines. Well, Peter Parker in Doc Ock's body flatlines. And then we have this great final page of Spidey walking towards the reader, but with the personage of Otto Octavius behind him, so that in case you didn't pick up on it, you know that somehow, in some way, Doc Ock has taken over Peter Parker. He has become, in effect, both Peter Parker and Otto Octavius. This, to me, this issue, was one of the greatest rope-a-dopes I've ever read. Seriously. This was something I did not see coming at all. And the thing about it is that it totally, totally worked. This was a gamble beyond any Spider-Man fans' wildest dreams. Anybody who's been reading Dan Slott's run on Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, this, for Dan Slott, took balls the size of Jupiter for him to write this story and to pull this issue off and do it in a way that was extraordinarily clever, that was shocking, that was really well written, had these really nice kind of, beats throughout history and time of Peter kind of reflecting back on certain moments of his life and certain people in his life. But then, of course, here is the test. When you reread it, you see, yeah, the voice is kind of off for Spider-Man here. I don't... It really... There was the moment in the club where he looks... Where MJ walks away. She's going to take... They're going to go to see Aunt May. And she walks away, and there's these two hot chicks there, and Peter looks at him and he winks. He's like, ladies. And it's just like, what's gotten into him? I mean, is he so full of confidence now that, or is he just like kind of shining them on because, he's with the supermodel, or the former supermodel? And, but then there are these tiny little beats throughout his internal monologue where it's like, yeah, this is off. But this also sounds like something that he would say or that he would think about, especially now that we're coming to the end of Amazing Spider-Man. And that the worst kept secret in all of comicdom is that, yes, somebody else will be Spider-Man when Superior Spider-Man #1 debuts. So, with all of this knowledge, reading this issue, and understanding the impact that it can potentially have on the future of the series, it becomes immense in its scope. How long has this been going on? When did this plan first take root within Doc Ock's brain? And there are wild speculative theories out there that back in like issue 600, there was maybe a hint, or 650 or something like that, there was maybe a hint that, or something that he did. This is when John Romita was still actually drawing. I don't remember. Slott must have been writing. But he puts on this helmet, and he actually is able to... the article that I read was on Bleeding Cool. And it was kind of interesting to think about that, yes, way back then, maybe this idea took hold. Because he was able to swap brainwaves with Doc Ock to stop Doc Ock. And so maybe that somehow feeds into, because there obviously theories, speculations are running rampant throughout the internet right now, as far as what these implications are for the future. Now, the art for this was Richard Elson, who I've never heard of, but does a really, really nice job on the subtleties of the book. And of course, you can lament, okay, well, it's not Ramos, it's not, Giuseppe Camuncoli, it's not Stefano Caselli, it's not Marcos Martin. But Richard Elson does a really nice job with the art in this issue. And just the fact that with only 2 issues to go, and one Avenging Spider-Man .1 issue that will somehow tie into this, but is not part of the kind of the I don't know if it's part of one of the logic through lines of this particular thing that's going on. But damn, it was so well done. I mean, my head was it was exploding, but my heart was exploding with enthusiasm. And it's not because we know that whatever's going to happen in the next 2 issues is going to change things, at least for a while, for the character of Spider-Man. But that could it somehow bleed over into Superior Spider-Man? What are the implications for Alpha? We know that he's getting his own series. I don't know if it's going to be just a limited series or it's going to be an ongoing. I know that, again, Josh Mihail Fialkov is going to be writing it, so I'm there. But holy shit. I mean, as Doc Ock said, this whole issue is kind of a great big magic trick. And you have kind of every moment of the trick, if you go by, the pledge, the turn, the prestige kind of thing. You have the pledge with the opening. You have the turn with, Doc Ock's brain, or not his brain, but I mean, part of his persona is there, but again, with all of the memories of Peter Parker. And then you have the prestige with the reveal that indeed they have switched. And now Peter Parker might die. An absolute 5 out of 5 for Amazing Spider-Man number 698. This was a fantastic issue. So again, if you've been staying with me for this long, you obviously have read it. I really, really want to know what you think about this. It took me until today to read some of the books that were out there, so I'm going to be checking out some YouTube videos tonight and see what some of the rest of you thought about this, if you haven't sounded off on it already, or if you have sounded off on it already, I should say. But just, wow. This to me was an amazing issue and sets the bar really high for the next couple of issues at the bare minimum. So I, for one, am breathless with anticipation for the next issue. It's going to be, in the next couple issues, I should say, because this is going to be some really, really wild stuff that's going to happen here. So that's it for tonight. Come back tomorrow. I will do the rest of this week's comics. There's a lot of them, so there could be, maybe another 2-parter or another epic. Come by and see the show. If this is your first time here, thanks for coming. Please subscribe, comment, criticize, complain down below. Thumb it up if you like it. Thumb it down if you don't. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you feel. Comments. That's what drives the conversation here amongst the YouTube comic book community. So, let's hear from you. So, that's me, James Donnelly, from the Shadow Gallery, now saying goodnight to you, and reminding you, as always, to stay in the shadow.